Hi, in this video we'll look into Resource-Based Constrained Delegation attack, or RBCD for short. This attack can be used to escalate privileges within an Active Directory environment. We'll look into how to detect it, how we can use this attack to escalate our privileges, and some of the things we can do to prevent it. So let's talk about the theory first. For example, if we control an account A that can modify attributes of a server A, and we can edit MSDS allowed to act on behalf of other identity attribute, and add computer B that we can control there. We're telling computer A that can task computer B to impersonate any user and give them access to computer A, including the main admin. I think you can see how dangerous it is now, but if it doesn't make sense to you right now, don't worry, we'll go into more details here in a second and I'll show you step-by-step process of how it works. Here's also a useful graphic I created for you so we can see step by step. So we have a user A has generic right or full control over a computer A, which is a server. And as the first step, we find a user who has right access over server. Next, as a step 2, we create a computer object. As you can see here, computer B object authorized. Third step is to modify MSDS allowed to act on behalf of identity attribute, and we add computer B in there. And step number 4, we impersonate the main admin on computer B to create it. And step number 5, we log into computer A with our ticket because computer A tasks computer B for delegation. All right, now let's look at it from a practical standpoint of view. So first we have a few prerequisites. As I mentioned before, we need an account that has write permissions on a server. And here's how we can check those permissions. So first one is Bloodhound. Here I'm just running Bloodhound in a Docker container. And if we open it, we can see here that we have a user P Parker, which is a regular user on our domain. Let me make sure my DC is turned. Yes, it is. So here we have P Parker, and if we go to outbound object control, just do this again, we can see that our user has generic all over hide DC. And if we go to Linux abuse, you can see that it says resource-based constrained delegation, and it explains all the steps which we'll go over. Second option is using bloody AD. So here's how we can do this. It's gonna be bloody AD host, which is gonna be our domain controller, domain name, which is .local in my case. Next, we give it username and password. And we look for writable objects, which are or objects we have write permissions on. And we'll specify type as computer because we're interested in computer objects. And here you can see that hide_RDC, which is a domain controller, we have write permissions. Second prerequisite is we need to have machine account quota not be 0 to be able to create a fake PC object we can control. By default, it is set to 10. So we can just use netexec to check it and see. Hold up. And it's just a module. Oops. It's gonna take a second to connect. Okay, and here you can see that machine account quota is set to 10, which means any user on this domain can create 10 computer accounts. And the third and last but not least prerequisite is our server has to be at least Windows Server 2012. We are in Windows Server 2022, which should be fine for RBCD to work. All right, now we can go into exploitation phase. As a step one, going back to the graphic you saw earlier, first we need to create a computer. You can also refer to Bloodhound. It also has all the steps. So number one, we just need to add a computer. Let's do that. I'll use InPucket here. Need to give it a computer name. I'll just copy and paste the command to make it faster. So here we just give it the computer name. We'll give it computer B, and it needs to have a $sign at the end, I believe. Yes, because all computers in ID have $signs. I'll end with $sign. Next, we just give it the password. Any password works. Specify our domain controller and our user. Forgot to specify the domain. Dash D. Something I'm forgetting. Oh, we need -DC dash. Oops, do we have that? Yes, what am I missing? Oh, there's the main advice name. That happens. The main should be specified. Oh, I think I know the ones. There we go. Yeah, the slash should have been the other slash. So now we create our computer B account. And we're gonna move on to step 2, which is gonna be to modify the attribute of computer A, which is DC in our case, to test our new computer we just created for delegation. If we go to Bloodhound, you can see it here. This is the next step, to add computer B to computer A's MSDS attribute. Let's do that. Also just copy my command, clipboard. So here we tell hide.dc to task computer B for delegation, and we specify our user that has the permissions to write over DC, which is B Parker in our case. So let's run it. Here we go. MSDS allowed to action on behalf of other identity is empty, and we modified it and added our computer B to hide.dc. Now let's just read the attribute to double check, clear my screen. And here just in the attribute MSDS allowed to delegate on behalf of other identity from hide.dc to make sure it has computer B in it. And here we go, it does. This is our fake computer that we just created. Alright, now let's move on to step 3, where we impersonate the main administrator using computer B's account to get the Kerberos ticket and then authenticate to the main controller. So let me just copy the command. So here we specify the SPN of our domain controller, which is hide.dc. We impersonate administrator user, specify domain IP, and our computer B's credentials. Let's go ahead and do that. Here we go, we got a ticket for administrator and set it to CC cache. Now let's export it. B5 equals administrator. And now let's try to use psexec to log into hide.dc, because now we're supposed to be an administrator. And here we go. We are in anywhere system. So here's how we can use a resource-based constrained delegation to get a domain administrator privileges. We could also just dump ntds.dit if we wanted. It's just important to make sure that you have etc host file with all the domain information in there. I'll show you. Because Kerberos actually relies on domain names instead of IP, so if we try it with IP, it should not work. Yeah, as you can see, mitigation fails because it doesn't understand. It's trying to use NTLM, I suppose, because it has IP, but if we try the host name, it will work. So over to mitigations, how we can prevent this type of attack. So there are two ways. Number one is audit your AD permissions to make sure users don't have write permissions over servers and computer accounts in general, just the best practice. And number two, set your machine quota to 0 because default is 10. As we check here, MEQ. We need to set to 0, and that way nobody will be able to create computer accounts in the Active Directory environment, and it will be much safer. And it's generally considered the best practice to set it to 0. Alright, that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.